my name is Emma, and today I am giving you guys my Winter Biannual Bibliothon of 2016 wrap-up. If you've been on my channel for more than 2 days, you know about the Biannual Bibliothon. I'm just gonna assume. If you don't know about the Biannual Bibliothon, it's a readathon that happens twice a year. I'm a host with 6 other wonderful booktubers, and any other further information you want to know about the Biannual Bibliothon, you can check the link to the YouTube channel dedicated to that readathon, where all of the information you could possibly want about this readathon is going to be. Because I talked about it way too much this week, and it's just repetitive, and you probably know about it. But if you missed my video challenges for the week and you're interested in seeing what I decided to do, I will link the playlist of all of my video challenges from this previous Biannual Bibliothon there. But while you can watch all of those video challenges, today I'm just going to be talking about all of the reading that I did for this past week. So for this past week, I ended up reading all 7 books on my TBR in 7 days, which equates to 2,611 pages. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of reading. So now I just want to talk about all the books that I read and my feelings on them. The first book I read for the week was Soundless by Mead, and that was going to be completing the challenge of read the group book. If you guys are interested in seeing my thoughts as well as the host thoughts on Soundless, I will link the live show discussion that we had this past Sunday so you guys can watch that. I really enjoyed Soundless. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Soundless was getting a lot of mixed reviews, and as soon as we picked it as a group book and people started reviewing it, I'm like, oh my god, everyone's gonna hate it. But I really enjoyed Soundless. I love Mead, so I was just really excited to read something different from her than Vampire Academy. I did have some problems with this book. I think the biggest one is that it was marketed to me as a fantasy book, and the fantasy aspect of this book does not come into play until like the last 30 pages. It was not fantasy, it was just like a different world, really, in my opinion. But I really like the characters. The story went in a totally different direction than I actually thought it would. After reading the synopsis, I had expected the entire story to be them going down the mountain, and the ending would be what they found at the bottom. But that doesn't happen at all. It goes in so many different directions and to different heights that I never thought it would, so I was really pleasantly surprised by Soundless. I thought it was a great book. Again, if you're interested in seeing more of my full in-depth thoughts, you can check out the live show. I am hopefully reviewing it. I don't know how that's going to go, but I really do want to review Soundless, so hopefully I'll have an actual full spoiler-filled review of that on this channel soon. But to start off the Bibliothon, that was a great first read for me. The next book I read for the Biannual Bibliothon is The Tales of Beedle the Bard by J.K. Rowling, and this completed the challenge for a book that has been on your shelf for over a year. I bought The Tales of Beedle the Bard like 5 billion years ago. This book was written like 8 years ago, but I bought it 5 billion years ago, just to be clear. This is a collection of really short children's stories that are apparently famous in the wizarding world. So like the Muggle, Cinderella, and Red Riding Hood. I gave The Tales of Beedle the Bard 3 stars. I wasn't really expecting much from it. It's only about 100 pages. The stories are really short, and then there's the afterword or the forward commentary by Albus Dumbledore. I wasn't blown away by this book because there's really no content to blow me away. My favorite story is, of course, The Tale of the Three Brothers, but I did end up really enjoying Babbity Rabbity and the Cackling Stump, and I was kind of worried about that one because what the heck is going on in that title? I didn't really like the other 2 as much, and there was only 4 stories, and the commentary was interesting, but like it wasn't anything spectacular. I do feel like I enjoyed this book as much as you can enjoy a book of stories. Like, they were entertaining and I had fun reading them. It just wasn't at the caliber of the stuff I normally read, clearly. The next book I read this week was Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, and this completed the challenge for Judge a Book by its cover, because I went into this book knowing absolutely nothing about it. I have heard nothing but good things about Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I hear it's like high fantasy, but it's more urban fantasy-ish. Like, it's kind of an even mix of the two. So as a fantasy lover, oh my god, I just realized I'm not wearing any necklaces. But I really enjoyed Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really loved the first half of this book. Like, it was all I could think about. But I did predict this like massive plot twist that was supposed to happen like miles before it actually came. So once the plot twist was revealed, I was like, oh, like I kind of figured that already. And then it switches to this different perspective with a different character in a different time. And I wasn't as interested as I was in the first half because I loved Karou. Like, she was one of my favorite characters, and then the second half of the book we like see nothing from her. So the ending of this book was a little anticlimactic for me, but I really enjoyed this book, and I'm definitely finishing this series. I'm just really excited to see where things go from here, and I'm hoping that I'm going to like the next books more than I like the second half of this book. It's just the first half of this book was so good, and then the second half was really meh-ish for me. So I'm just really hoping that the last 2 books are going to be just as good, if not better. The 4th book that I read this week was City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare, and that completed the challenge for read a book that is your favorite in a series. I actually listened to the bulk of this book on audiobook, which was really awesome because that was part of my 2016 bookish resolutions the first week of January, and I've already started completing one of them. As for the audiobook, I was kind of really underwhelmed with the narration. I liked the process of reading an audiobook. I thought it was really interesting interesting, and I was really excited to actually listen to an audiobook. Like, I found myself like finding reasons to go out and listen in the car, or like things to do in my room just so I could actually listen to the book. I just felt like the narration, there wasn't a lot of emotion in it, like they were just reading the book, and I feel like when you have a voice actor for an audiobook, though I'm clearly not the most proficient in audiobooks, I just felt like it needs to be acted and there needs to be emotion and excitement in the words, and there wasn't. I also didn't really like the accents. Like, there were British accents sometimes and there weren't British accents, and everyone was speaking in a normal American accent, and there's no British characters in this book. I don't know, the narration was weird, but I love City of Heavenly Fire. Of course I enjoyed it. It was really interesting to listen to one of my favorite books of the entire world on audiobook, and I think that aspect of it is what made me really enjoy the experience of listening to an audiobook. Also, the audiobook is 20 hours long, and when I first read City of Heavenly Fire, I read it in 8 hours, so I could have read this book twice in the amount of time it took me to listen to the audiobook. But anyways, I finished it this week. I really enjoyed it, and I'm super happy I picked up City of Heavenly Fire again. The next book that I read this week was Bloodlines by Rochelle Mead. I'm so excited I read 2 Rochelle Mead books this month. I love her so much. Bloodlines is going to be completing the challenge for read a book in your favorite genre, which happens to be urban fantasy, and I loved Vampire Academy so much, and I've been wanting to read Bloodlines for forever, but I just never got around to picking it up, so I thought that this would be a really great opportunity for me to do so. I loved Bloodlines. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Out of all of the books that I have read this week, this is definitely my favorite. It was so cool to jump back into the world of Vampire Academy because, oh my god, that book was so good. I thought the story was really interesting too. Again, it went in different directions that I really wasn't expecting it to. I don't really know how I feel about Sydney in Bloodlines because, while I kind of enjoyed her presence in Vampire Academy, I wasn't overwhelmed with her as a character, and she's a little weird. Just her thought process is really interesting to read from because I never read from a character like this, but I don't absolutely love her yet, but I'm finishing Bloodlines. I absolutely loved the first book, and I know I'm going to love the rest of them, so I'm hoping I like Sydney more and more as the books go on. I love Jill, of course, and I also love Adrian way more than I loved him in Vampire Academy, because I wasn't a fan of Adrian and Rose in Vampire Academy, and now that Adrian is away from that, I really like him as a character, and I'm super excited to see more from him in the series. I just loved Bloodlines so much, and I cannot wait to finish it. The next book that I read this week was Hotel Ruby by Suzanne Young, and this is completing the challenge for read a book that someone has recommended to you more than once. I was really excited to read Hotel Ruby because the synopsis was totally different from a lot of things that I've read from. I love Suzanne Young as an author because her program series was phenomenal, and also a lot of the books on my TBR were gigantic, and this one was pretty short. So I flew by Hotel Ruby. Again, I really loved the first half of this book. I read it in one sitting. It was a super unique book. I don't really think this book is considered a horror. It's more like a suspense thriller, and I don't read a lot of those, but I love books like that. Nearing the end of the book, where everything is really getting explained, I wasn't as enthralled with it as I was in the first half. But what I really like about this book is the ending took a totally unexpected turn. The ending was such a risk, and it was not something that a lot of authors would do, in my opinion. So while I didn't love the second half of the book, the ending was really interesting, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave Hotel Ruby 4 out of 5 stars. It was definitely a really wonderful, quick, easy read, and it was a lot of fun and super entertaining. If you liked the program, or if you like suspense thrillers and you're just looking for something quick, I definitely recommend picking up Hotel Ruby. And then the final book that I read for the Biannual Bibliothon was Happily Ever After, the Selection Series novellas by Kiera Cass, and this completed the challenge for read a book over 300 pages. I loved this book, and I knew I would love this book. The Selection Series is one of my all-time favorite new series of 2015, and so I actually had a couple of these novellas in paperback before the huge bind-up came, but I never read them, and I was just waiting to read this beautiful copy. I loved everything in this book. It was so nice to revisit a world that I've fallen so in love with and see so many different characters that I loved so much. Throughout the different novellas, because there's like 4 main novellas and then a couple of like little scenes thrown in here and there, it was really cool because a lot of them were scenes that we had never seen before, and also some of them were scenes that we had seen in the selection but from different perspectives, so it was like a whole mix of everything you want in novellas. I really loved The Queen, which was Queen Amberly's story, and then I also really loved The Prince, which was Maxon's story, because it had a little bit before of the selection and some of the scenes that actually happened during the selection. My next favorite was definitely The Favorite, which was Marley's story, which was really interesting. My least favorite was probably The Guard, which is Aspen's story, but I don't like Aspen as a character, so that was kind of expected. But then we had scenes from Celeste, who was a character that was really interesting. And then it was really interesting to see like where the rest of the selected are now. Like, it took like 4 other main characters that made it to the very end of the selection and what happened after the selection. So that's not something we ever get to see from a lot of authors. So that was really awesome. All in all, I loved Happily Ever After. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm so happy I finally picked it up. These are all the books that I read during the Biannual Bibliothon of 2016. I had so much fun reading with you guys this week. Every single year, the Biannual Bibliothon is just more and more fun, and I don't know what it has to do with, but this was definitely my favorite so far. I loved interacting with you guys in the Twitter sprints. I loved watching all of your videos and talking to you guys in the comments of everyone's challenge videos. It was so much fun, and I'm so thankful for all of your support. I am really overwhelmed, and I could talk about it for hours, but I'm not going to because I already spent so long talking about all of these fantastic books that I read this week. Let me know what some of your reads from the Biannual Bibliothon, or if you've read any of the books that I have pictured here, what you thought of them. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!